So welcome back. So this is in response to another viewer's question. It's from M. Lansing, and I can't put it up on the screen because it's so long, the question, that I can't get a screenshot of it. So let me read out the question, and that is going to be the content of today's video. What is it if we're able to speak to a spirit guide who's a spirit? Why can't we directly connect with the spirit instead of having the guide as the middleman? It makes no sense to me. How can so many people say that it's a complete contradiction? So many people are confused, thinking they need to connect to spirit, then hearing everywhere that you can't connect unless it's through your guide. The comment goes on, believe it or not, but it's expressing how she has found contradiction and problems with people's philosophy and what they're talking about on how to communicate with the spirit world, and that this middleman, in this term the spirit guide or the spirit team. And so in today's video I'm going to give you my interpretation of what I think happens. So it's going to be very difficult to get this video short, so I'll do my absolute best so you understand what it is that I'm trying to say and try and get across the relationship that I share with the spirit world. But in general, in short terms, what is the need for the middleman? Is the actual question. Do I need the guide to speak with the communicator that is coming through? And so here we go. I will try my best to get this across on video. So firstly, what is the purpose of the spirit guide? So the spirit guide is assigned. In my philosophy, is assigned. This is something you've already arranged before you have got here in the physical life. You're part of a team, and in that team they will offer guidance upon the journey that is kind of contracted for easy understanding. You kind of signed up for it, and from there this team and yourself will try and walk this journey. That for me is the role of that guide. So what we're trying to do in the early stages of spiritual awakening is we're trying to build a relationship of trust and understanding as we go along that journey. So we're aware, we find the spirit world. Maybe we stumble across it, maybe it was purposeful in trying to find it. And now we found the middleman, the guide that the viewer's question is involving. So in this process, the early stages, we're developing, we're trying to become hypersensitive, and we're learning the subtlety of what we understand as mediumship. And to do this, we need someone to turn to, someone that's going to point the way, show us the doors to go through or the path to take. And in that process, we build a relationship, a closeness, like we do in any other relationship that we have here on Earth, whether that be a friend or a partner or a family member. Over time, we learn to trust them, we trust their guidance, so on and so forth. And so far, this is the purpose of that relationship. So we're at the point of starting development. We're looking for a circle, maybe something along those lines, and then you're taught this calling card or something along those lines. You know, feel the spirit world, you'll feel them on your face, and you'll feel them come close, you'll feel them come from the left or the right or from behind you, all that stuff that goes on. And what you're doing is you're learning to feel safe and secure, because there's been so much promotion on fear. You can be harmed, you can be hurt, and you need protecting, that we need a safety. You know, like a small child is looking for their mother in a scary scenario, like in a town centre or something. Stay close by me, don't run away, don't run off, don't, you know, you can get yourself in trouble sort of thing. This is exactly the same as when we're heading towards circle, heading towards development, whether that be a residential or a workshop or a weekly circle around a friend's house, something along those lines. So we start to put our trust into that guide, that team. You know, we're taught very early on that it's maybe a singular, but for as long as I know, it's been a team for me. I've always thought that. I've always gone with that idea that there is a group of people that are helping me along my journey. So we have this process now, you know, that's covered. That's why we've got the middleman. We need someone to feel safe with, because we're working with energy, and we're trying to read energy, and we're trying to communicate with a spirit world that so much lack of understanding is in the community, that the idea of protection and grounding and rooting makes sense why it appeared. That, you know, they didn't understand, they don't know why. So the purpose of the guide in this role was to be secure in the idea of me moving my mind to the spirit world and have the calling card of said guide. So we're at the point, and we're in the development stage now, where we're getting ready to do practice readings. You know, we've got a couple of clients within our circle. We're all developing. We're all getting ready to move our mind to the spirit world and embrace the communication that's about to happen. So I sit opposite someone, they sit opposite me, and we're panicking because we want to be good and we want to get it right. Of course, that's par for the course, isn't it? But we start to move our mind into gear of the spirit world. And so what do? We go to the rituals that we've been learning, of course, for the past year or so, however long that is. And we go to the ritual of grounding ourselves and protecting ourselves and waiting for that calling card to present itself in a way, let me just adjust that, in a way that's familiar to us, and because of that we will then try to embark on communicating. We'll try to get the evidence that we're looking for and bring forward the loved one of the person sitting in front of us. And so the role there for the spirit guide is to make you feel safe, to make you feel like this is very familiar, this is something that we've been practicing for the last year, and I am here, you've had your calling card, and now you'll become aware of the man or the woman or the boy or the girl, whatever scenario that is, and then you'll start to present your information. So we're at that stage now where we're regularly attending circle, where we're doing regular communication and we're regularly presenting the evidence of the said communicator for the client. Now this may be at home, this may be your practice circles or on your residentials, but in all the time that you've been developing, you've been learning the ritual of grounding, you've been learning the ritual of protection, you've been learning that you're waiting for a calling card, you're waiting for that feeling or that vision or whatever it is that you've developed, you're waiting for it before you'll start to communicate. And because of this, the guide has to have the role in that, but it doesn't require it for the communication. So let's say I've got, I don't know, a year, 18 months, 2 years development under my belt. You know, I've built trust, I've built this relationship with my spirit team now, and because I've built it, you know, it's like I'm not so dependent on that feeling, I'm not so scared, I'm starting to trust what's going on. And because of that, that subtlety that was the guide giving me the calling card, etc., that subtlety of everything that they bring forward starts to fade off now. I don't need it so much. I've developed a faith, I've developed a knowledge and understanding that they're always going to be there. They're always going to turn up, because that's how we've developed up to now our mediumship. So the next bit that we have to look at is, especially from like my kind of angle, I'm demonstrating a number of times a week. I do readings all the time and I'm teaching and what have you. And it's one of those things where I don't need to look for them anymore. They're there, I know they're there. And every time I move my mind to the spirit world, it's them that present themselves. They come forward, they're there. I don't need to look for that mark anymore. So take my demonstrating, for example. I'm working with a team of guides, of whatever term you want to call that. And I don't go directly. I don't go, I want to come to the lady over there with the pink top on. I don't want to come to the man over there. You know, I don't work in that way. Everything's evidence-based. So as I give my evidential statements out from my communicator, it will lead only to one person within that audience. And then I do the communication, I tie that communication up, I move on to the next communication. And that cue is already formed. That cue is already dealt with by said guide. So to the viewer that asked the question, that would be the middleman role. I don't question that role. I just let them get on with it. They form the queue. I'm the voice of said people, 5, 6, 7, 8 people that are going to have their voice that evening. And I trust, because that's what I've built up over the last few years, I trust the queue that they have formed to come forward and have their voice, and I will go through that queue systematically, like I always do, because I trust that team. I have walked this path with that team, and so I trust the guidance of the queue that they have built for me. So the next question that would come from that is like, what? But how do you know who's coming through, Charlie? You know, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is like, you don't know who you're working with. It could be horrible people, it could be negative people, it could be all of these things. And yes, you're absolutely right. However, I've built the trust with that team, knowing that they are there every single time, and I've never questioned them. I've never been harmed. I've never got in any kind of bother. Working with the lovely people that are coming through to talk to their loved ones, and equally the ones that are coming through to accept that they were a little bit of a horrible person. This is usually men for things. I'm not saying women can't be horrible. I mean, I've done those communications, but on the ratio, it's usually the man. The man has done some bad things, and he's coming through with a form of acceptance because he now knows what's going on. And so you've got to view it like, let me find an analogy for you, like airport security. You know, you turn up at Gatwick or Stansted or Heathrow, whichever one, they're the ones I usually use. And I go there, and I've got my passport to prove who I am. I've got my boarding pass, and that still don't mean anything. I've still got to put my bags through the scanners, and I've got to check my bags in, and then I've got to go through, and I've got to walk through a machine, and you know, and they've got all my details. They know exactly who I am, where I'm going, how long I'm staying for, etc., etc. And this right there is the role of the spirit guide. The spirit guide is not going to let someone in with the wrong passport. They're not going to let someone in with a bag full of dodgy gear. That's their role. That's exactly what they're doing. In that process of allowing them in, they're telling me the instruction. And so that's exactly what's happening. You know, as you walk in, if you're not allowed to do something, there's signs there. The role of the guide is to instruct the communicator, my medium works in this way. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And so now you can start to get an idea of when a medium, this may be you, that says, oh, when I work with the spirit people, when they come in from the right-hand side, I know it's from mum's side of the family. When it's the right-hand side, I know it's from dad's side of the family. This is a restriction that is being placed upon the communication, because the guide then has to instruct. You know, you're going to have to approach him from the right, because he would, if you approach from any other place, he'll do it as a friend or from mum's side of the family. And for accuracy, you're going to have to approach him from the right-hand side if you want said statement given. So the role of the guide is the instruction, the peacekeeper, the one that's checking the bags, the luggage, that there's no dodgy dealings going on, that your passport is correct and you are who you say you are. That's the role of the guide or team, whichever term you want there. And that is, in that very moment, is exactly why I do not undermine or give any less value to my team. They will not allow me to be harmed. They will not allow someone to impersonate someone else. It cannot be done that way. You wouldn't get through Heathrow, you wouldn't get through Stansted with that kind of mentality or that approach. And yet we will preach the intelligence of the spirit world, how clever they are, but they can be duped by someone. It's a ridiculous notion, so absolutely not. So the role of the middleman in this example, asked by the viewer, is to make sure everything runs to plan behind the scenes. Demonstrations, readings, forming the queue, getting the right communicator, making sure that the communicator's right. So my mind can be at ease, not diluted with rituals or ways to do things. I can just get on and do the communication. So to this point so far, I think you start to get the gist of how I operate. You're starting to see my relationship with my team. It would be no different to a loved one here on earth. They're treated the same. I communicate with them the same way. I talk to them like normal people. They're not on a pedestal, I'm not on a pedestal. Equality, as the spirit world has always said. So there is an absolute need for the middleman, an absolute need. That relationship that I have built with the spirit world is unique to me, only to me, and yours will be unique to you and only to you. But that's exactly where the faith and the trust is paramount, above any kind of evidence that you're looking for, without any sort of egotistical value there of trying to be the best or wanting to be seen as good or whatever. The relationship is an absolute must. So for those of you that require the protection, then that's fine, just continue in that way. However, that doesn't make me wrong, because I trust my team to be protecting me on that side. I know that they've got the scanners and the passport checks, etc., etc., the way that I've used the analogy. I know they've got that all in check. I know there's more than one. I know no one's slipping through any barrier or any back door. They are protecting me because I am a working voice for them. They love me, I love them. And they will protect me like a family member would. And so you start to see how my faith and my trust are implemented in every communication. So the middleman is essential, absolutely essential. And because of this, that relationship will be demonstrated very regular. Sorry for the pause, I'm trying to adjust the light because the sun is peeking through the trees there. You start to see how it all pieces together. So in the early stages, of course you need the guide, of course you need that reassurance. You're entering things that you don't understand, you don't know. You're looking for subtleties and you don't get it, and you just wish they could show themselves, and you wish they could give you this, and that's where the calling cards come from, or the smells, or whatever sensitivity is that you're using. That's where all of these come from. However, after a couple of years of working with this, you don't need it every time. You don't need a family member to walk in and say, "Hi, I'm here. You know, my name is." You know, you've learned, haven't you, as you move along in that journey. So to the viewer that asked the question, M. Lansing, I think, and I know I've butchered your name beyond belief there, I have no doubt. I'm terrible at reading, to be honest with you. I hope I've answered your question in some way. That should eliminate any contradiction that you have found or that you are currently arguing with. It is essential, the team are essential, but they are essential as a silent partner. They're in the background making sure you are safe and everything is absolutely fine. And by safe, I mean safety of your mind. Nothing more, nothing less than that. They are organised in said queues, and they are making sure that if you are a demonstrating medium in the way that you are going to be working without the cold read, without going in psychically or anything like that, they are making sure that everything is good to go. You are in a strong position, your evidence, your relationship, everything's up to speed. And just imagine what can happen if you hand over, if you surrender completely to your team, your guide, your middleman. Imagine what can be achieved if we fully trust, if we actually have faith in your team, in your guide. If you followed all the instructions, if you followed all their guidance, I wonder where it will take you in life. So I'm going to call it a day. Hopefully I've done my job there and got across the best way I can. Very difficult walking through the woods with a camera, constantly adjusting ISO and frame rates and all sorts of stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like it if you like it. I am certain there will be comments on this one, and feel free from down below. And I think I will see you maybe one more time this week, maybe one more time, with another different angle, another approach with what we find within the spiritual community. So hopefully there'll be humour, laughter, controversy, all that kind of stuff in the next video. So remember, like, share, subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you all next time. So in short, with that cue, I communicate directly with that of the communicator, directly. So I speak to mum, I converse with mum, I blend with mum. And it's that simple, it's that easy.